Aiden was arguing if this shutdown would earn any political dividends for the Democratic Party. So far, so good. Like I've said from the start, it's entirely dependent on how they message through this process. So far, people understand that the Democrats are the good guys here and the Republicans are the bad guys here. Now, that might change, especially with the severe violations of the Hatch Act that the Republican Party is now basically committing on a daily basis. This is a funny example of such. A new known video is being played at airports trashing Democrats. The Hatch Act does not matter anymore. It doesn't exist. Okay? It's poo-poo. It's doo-doo. It depends on how they message, so they won't get credit. The shutdown is a message war. That's what it is. The shutdown is the last remaining tool that the minority party has at its disposal. And if they don't message decently through this, which they have so far, they've stood strong and steadfast in their approach. And that is the reason why people correctly attribute the problem to the Republicans and lay the responsibility in the hands of the Republican Party, which controls every aspect of the government. But the other part of the messaging, the information warfare here that's taking place is that the Democrats need to correctly point to why they're doing this. And they have done so thus far, especially in the beginning. I hope they don't get too comfortable. That is my fear, that they get too comfortable and they just start saying dumb shit. And then the Republicans keep pushing the narratives over and over again. Like, oh, they're just trying to give health care to transgender migrants or something like that. Do you think sexy, ballsy Hakeem and Schumer can actually message competently? So far, they've done a decent job. Can you think of a single movie in which there's a video from the government denouncing its political opponents playing on a loop in public spaces in which that government was the good guy? I cannot, but also what they're doing here is illegal. I need to explain to you, not that it matters, because the law doesn't matter if there's no one to enforce it. And it's very clear that no one is enforcing the law, at least when the government is deciding to violate the law. But this is not, this is illegal.
I'm Christine Ohm, the United States Secretary of Homeland Security. It is TSA's top priority to make sure that you have the most pleasant and efficient airport experience as possible while we keep you safe. However, Democrats in Congress refuse to fund the federal government, and because of this, many of our operations are impacted, and most of our TSA employees are working without pay. We will continue to do all that we can to avoid delays that will impact your travel. And our hope is that Democrats will soon recognize the importance of opening the government. I'm Christine Ohm, the United States Secretary of Homeland Security. It is TSA's top priority to make sure that you have the most pleasant and efficient airport experience as possible while we keep you safe. However, Democrats in Congress refuse to fund the federal government, and because of this, many of our operations are impacted, and most of our TSA employees are working without pay. We will continue to do all that we can to avoid delays that will impact your travel. And our hope is that Democrats will soon recognize the importance of opening the government. I'm Christine Ohm.
Is AI isn't even close to human looking? No, that's just how she looks, man. It's ironic because, like, she straight up is a dog killer. That's a real dog abuser right there, okay? Stop spreading this terrorist propaganda. Speaking of terrorist propaganda, Rutgers professor says he packed up his family and left the U.S. due to death threats.
I'm a historian.
Let's take a look.
And I understand that the way that authoritarian movements grow is by coming up with a boogeyman term like Antifa.
Rutgers University history professor and author Mark Bray says his life and his views came under attack in recent weeks.
It really started after Trump's executive order declaring Antifa a quote-unquote terrorist organization.
We have a very serious left-wing terror threat in our country. Radicals associated with the domestic terror group Antifa.
Bray says the executive order turned him into a target.
The pace of the death threats accelerated after the Fox News article about the Turning Point petition to have me fired.
This month, the Rutgers Turning Point USA chapter, a political group founded by Charlie Kirk, launched this petition seeking to remove the quote Antifa-aligned professor to protect conservative students from political violence rhetoric. A call to action, Bray says, fueled threats and put his family's safety at risk.
The first one that said they were going to kill me in front of my students.
Bray says he alerted the university, filed a police report, and left the U.S. this week to protect his family.
I landed in Spain this morning after a very mysterious and, in my opinion, fishy cancellation of my flight on Wednesday.
The president of Rutgers Turning Point USA chapter says they condemn any threats of violence, but stand by their call to remove Professor Bray.
You know, Mark Bray's a coward, fundamentally. He He thought he could hide behind his books. He thought he could hide behind his degree and radicalize kids from the safety of his classroom.
Rutgers University released a statement.
Dude, this is his job. His job is to teach about fascism. By the way, once again, a lot of people are saying, oh, you're not part of the team, buddy. Yeah, except, what did I tell you? Modern fascism doesn't work that way. Modern fascism is way more diverse. Everything in the United States of America has been hit with the DEI ray. Okay? That's it. This is all the components. This is all the components. It's anti-intellectual. It's behaving in this like incredibly militant fashion towards singled out targets that they see as the enemy, and they are the enemy because they are educating people on the way fascism works.
Reading in part, Rutgers is committed to upholding the rights of students and faculty to free speech and academic freedom as fundamental to our community. Some students here say the threats have gone too far.
I think it's kind of embarrassing that people are treating somebody like this just for their own opinions. It's kind of crazy and it's scary.
Bray says his classes will now be taught virtually. In New Brunswick, Addie Guajardo, CBS News, New York.
All right, let's bring in Lara Trump.
Jimmy Kimmel blasted for claim on Antifa. I don't know what he's talking about. It's so funny. This is my favorite type of news making, as you guys know, is my pet peeve, which is first you blast the person, and then you do additional coverage on how everyone is blasting this person. It's like, no, it's you. You're the one who's doing the blasting. The f- do you mean everyone's really mad at Jimmy Kimmel for his Antifa statement? It's like, no, it's just you. And now you're trying to continue the conversation by claiming, oh, wow, everyone is really mad. Tom Emmer said that the No Kings protest next week was going to be a terrorist event, and Mike Johnson said it was a Hamas rally. Terrorist just means valid target to the United States government. It's scary stuff how comfortable they are throwing that term around. Yep.
Of My View with Lara Trump. Good to see you, Lara. I'll have you react to Alexis's reporting on what's happening in Rutgers University. What I find interesting is that this professor, writes this entire book about Antifa. He says, I'm not part of Antifa, but I just, I teach about it. And then you have somebody like Jimmy Kimmel who says, there is no Antifa. I want you to listen to this sound clip from Kimmel.
There's no Antifa. This is an entirely imaginary organization. There is not an Antifa. This is no different than if they announced they rounded up a dozen Decepticons. We've captured the Chupacabra, everyone.
Okay, so what's happening here?
Well, there is Antifa. This White House classified them as a domestic terrorist organization, which they are.
I said this the first day, bro. Because there is no real organization that is like Antifa, with the exception of Rose City Antifa or whatever the right? It's just there is no actual defined organization that you are targeting. Anyone and everyone can be considered Antifa. And the administration has obviously made that very clear. Terrorism already is an intentionally vague definition, and it is utilized to take away people's due process and their rights and their liberties and prosecute them and maybe even kill them, right? Without any sort of pushback. And for that reason, because it completely contradicts the First Amendment in the United States of America, it has never been applied domestically. There have been times where the First Amendment has been violated. Obviously, America is rabidly anti-communist, and there have been different ways in which America has violated any sort of discontent, any sort of dissent, or people that are engaging in any sort of dissent. Antifa is also vague by definition, by design, in the same way that terrorism is a vague standard to apply, a vague term to apply to whoever the you want to extrajudicially kill or apprehend. Okay? This is very dangerous. And the reason why it's very dangerous is because anything and everything can be considered anti-fascist in nature. And that's precisely the reason why Trump didn't just talk about all of the little radicals in Black Bloc or whatever and instead immediately started talking about George Soros, Act Blue, and all of the payment processes that the Democrats use. And when expanded on the definition of what it means to be Antifa, which is once again a decentralized movement. Therefore, everyone from your grandparents who fought the Nazis in World War II down to you telling a racist that they're being racist, those are all acts of anti-fascism, no matter how little or no matter how organized they may be. This is precisely the reason why the administration can use this vague standard and apply it to everyone and anyone, including former Trump voters if they choose to, and claim that any kind of discontent is Antifa and must be stamped out.
They use violence to intimidate ICE officers, people they disagree with, push back on law enforcement, and try to stop anything, that's the way of life in this country as we know it, that they disagree with. And that's not the way things should be done. So Antifa absolutely exists. I don't know what Jimmy Kimmel's talking about there. This professor, I thought it was funny. He said, I don't subscribe to it. I just study it. I just teach it. I mean, I think it's a little outrageous. And I think he's probably upset, Aisha, that he's been exposed for what he is. And he's been exposed by a lot of these, individuals with Turning Point. I am very happy to see that we have people on campus now who are able to express themselves. For so long, it felt like that it was just an indoctrination factory. And that's exactly what a professor like this very clearly is doing to so much of our youth out there. But now you have these individuals in Turning Point, starting new chapters across this country, making sure that they're unafraid in the way.
I will say this is definitely an incredibly worrisome development, but this is, I think, one aspect. This is, especially if the Democrats and everybody else, like even the normies who don't really give a fuck about politics, I suspect they will mobilize against this. And I also think that the courts will hold the First Amendment, because if they don't, it's over. There's two key things in the Constitution. I mean, there's many good things in the Constitution, but there's two key aspects of the Constitution that are supposed to limit the control of the government. And no, I'm not talking about the Second Amendment, okay? No, I'm not. Due process and free speech. Those are the two key safeguards of American theoretical democracy. I love when dummies will be like, oh, Second Amendment, dude. Yeah, totally. Yeah, Second Amendment is totally protecting everybody, dude. You're right. If due process goes away and free speech goes away, it's over. It's over. And I still think that the courts will protect those two key components as it stands. And I think that there will be a lot of mass mobilization and mass discontent if the administration tries to go after these two things, regardless of whether or not there is a compliant media ecosystem that actually pushes people's attention elsewhere. I think people will still get mad. They'll get mad enough. What about the Third Amendment? The Third Amendment, consistently the most powerful one, okay? Nobody thinks about it. Nobody talks about it. There was a brief moment when people talked about it during the BLM protests, but it's the most goated one, okay? W Third Amendment, the most powerful, has the most motion. W Third Amendment for stopping Kirsty Noem from using the restroom inside of government facilities. It's not even actually the Third Amendment that does that, but still. Fuck it. Let's chalk it up. Let's chalk it up to the Third Amendment.
They're speaking. We are 1 month out from that horrific assassination of Charlie Kirk. And man, would he be happy to see the way that these students have made their voices loud and made sure that they are unafraid in everything that they say. So look, we'll see what Rutgers decides to do. Interesting, the guy fled the country, though. Maybe that tells us a lot about him.
Maybe it does. I want to switch gears to what's happening in Chicago and this fight that's escalating between your father-in-law and the leadership there, the Democrats there. And it's getting more and more intense every single day, this fight.
This is like when my haters were like, this pussy doesn't want to go to TwitchCon. I'll kill him if he goes. When I was like, yeah, I'm not going to go to TwitchCon because I don't want to like threaten the safety of others by being there. Okay. She's doing the same thing to this professor. He's like, yeah, that pussy better not show his stupid ass face on American soil. Okay. If my father-in-law has something to do with it, what a coward. He escaped the country. He better not come back here. If he comes back here, I'll show him what's what. It's like, okay, well, you kind of proved why he had to flee the country, which is an insane thing to begin with. Like, what? Why is everyone becoming a school shooter? What the f is going on here?
President Trump said that he, wanted to see leaders in Chicago be put in jail because of this conflict. And then the Chicago mayor, Brandon Johnson, said that he was going to do everything in his power to lead a resistance that is desperately needed to protect democracy. And
who's Laura Trump's father-in-law? Laura Trump's father-in-law, think? Who could it be? Who could Laura Trump's father-in-law be? Could be anybody, really.
How do you see this ending, Laura?
Well, I hope it ends with law and order being reestablished in a place like Chicago. Go talk to the residents of the south side of Chicago there, Aisha. I'm sure they'll tell you that they need help, that they don't feel safe in their own communities. If you go to Washington, D.C., where you saw President Trump bring in the National Guard, where you saw him federalize the police force, the people there and the citizens of Washington, D.C. are very grateful that he did that. You've seen murders drop out of the bottom. You've seen violent crime go down as well. And these people are finally able to live their lives again. It's a shame that you have leaders.
It's just so funny that there is never any need from any media at all to just actually talk to the citizens who are like, we don't like the troop presence. And also things were fine. Not only were things totally fine, but also on top of that, things have rapidly become not fine with the military being deployed to our streets. Why ask the average people that live there when you can just talk over them? Because your audience is not the people of DC or the people of Chicago. Your audience is the rural folk who don't actually see the military presence in their neighborhoods. It's a culture of domination, dominating the other, dominating the enemy. The enemies of the Republicans are the liberal elite, the establishment liberals, and the radical socialists and the communists. Because these people are objectively fearful of going into any of these big cities anyway, they can just live with this complete false notion, this complete false reality that these cities are constantly on fire. There's so many black and brown people and they're just lighting shit on fire and they're robbing people blind and then they're killing them. And then the cops are like, oh, we can't do anything because woke. No one is getting arrested. Or when people do get arrested, then the woke judge says, oh, well, George Soros gave me Jewish money so I can release the black and brown people back into the streets. That's literally what 30 to 40% of this country believes. I'm not even exaggerating when I say this. Unironically, 30 to 40% of this country believes what I just described to you. And there is a steady flow of misinformation that they consume that constantly reinforces this idiotic notion. 30 or 40% of the voters, you're right. Not though. I would say 30 to 40% of the country. No, I'll take it. I'll say 30 to 40% of the country believes it, not just the voters.
Whether it's Brandon Johnson, whether it's J.B. Pritzker, who I guess feel like they have to play politics, they have failed the citizens of Chicago. All you have to do is look at the statistics there. You can see that crime is up. And, what President Trump wants to do is he wants to allow ICE agents to go in and do their job and enforce the law as it is written. If Brandon Johnson or J.B. Pritzker has a problem with that, they need to take it to the United States Congress. President Trump is trying to allow these ICE agents to do their job.
Isn't talking about the country people the same thing she's doing? Are you saying I'm doing the same thing she's doing? Do you think I'm lying when I say that a big chunk of the people that listen to this narrative, which is 90% of the Republicans, and trust this narrative, which is 90% of the Republicans, this is statistically bad. This is backed by stats. Because liberals, for the most part, have a diverse media diet that even includes Fox News. Okay? Republicans, on the other hand, there's Pew Center research studies conducted on this stuff, on the media diet parsed through people's political affiliations. For the most part, Republicans or self-identifying Republicans get their news almost exclusively from Fox News. Okay, 90% of Republicans get their news from Fox News, whereas when you look at the liberals, they have a much more diverse media diet. This is why there's this narrative that liberal media, media is liberal and they dominate everyone's collective consciousness. Okay. look, I agree with you, but I would like you to get out in the real world. I know that is a mad suggestion right now. No, I do get out in the real world quite a bit. I encounter people that have this kind of opinion. And not only that, but also statistics back the things that I'm saying. Here, I'll give you one great example of this, okay? I'll give you one great example of this. People think crime is on the rise in this country, but when you actually look at the data across the board, crime is back to historic lows, okay? And the trend lines for crime are going down, as has been the case for the past couple of decades, right? But people still think crime is actually, when asked, people still think crime is absolutely out of control. When asked further why they think crime is out of control, they say crime is actually not high in my neighborhood, but it's higher elsewhere. That's what I'm talking about. One must ask the question, how people arrive at this conclusion. This is a conclusion that I, this is exactly what I'm talking about. This is what I mean. People that don't live in big cities, or people that don't live in the big city that they're talking about. Like, because there are, right-wingers that live in New York, for example, that might not think New York crime is out of control, but they think or might not experience it themselves, but they see it on TV and they think it's happening elsewhere. But that is a constant in the American collective consciousness. Americans think crime is out of control. Okay? Americans think crime is out of control, just not in their neighborhood. It's just everywhere else. My dad has never been to LA or SF and constantly tells me how bad they are. To me, a person who's lived in LA for 4 years and San Francisco for 2.5. Exactly. And ironically enough, if you actually do go out and talk to normies and coworkers and whatnot, you've probably heard this dynamic. People do it to me, for example. People do it to me all the time. People used to come in here and talk about like how crime in my backyard was completely out of control, that I was going to get shot any moment. Well, now they still tell me I'm going to get shot any moment, but that's usually just a death threat. But in the past, they used to say, like, dude, what are you talking about? Crime in Los Angeles is completely out of control. It's like, well, I live here. I went to the ICE protest. People were like, LA's on fire. LA is on fire. LA is completely on fire. It's like, no, I'm here. I'm here at the protests. Okay. I saw the fires directly. I stood next to them. I walked 10 minutes away from the protests where the 3 Waymos were burning and got ice cream. LA was not on fire back then, and it certainly isn't right now. Neither is Portland, and neither is Chicago. But these guys keep saying that that's what's going on.
Violent criminals, gang members off the streets, and I can guarantee you the citizens of Chicago are going to be grateful when that is done. So I hope that that's the end we see happen, and I know that that's what this president wants.
Lara, I cannot let you go before I get your quick take on the president not getting the Nobel Peace Prize, getting snubbed on that award despite so many different nominations from all over the world, and the person who just won basically dedicating it to him. Quick thought on that.
Yeah, no, I mean, he deserves it more than anyone alive on this planet right now. There's no doubt. This will be his 8th conflict if this is successful in the Middle East, and probably something that people in their wildest dreams never thought in our lifetime we would see happen. No one deserves it more than President Trump, but we know these people who establish who wins the Nobel Peace Prize hate Donald Trump. They suffer from Trump derangement syndrome. And in our hearts, he will be winning the Nobel Peace Prize. We know that for sure. And I hope he gets it in the future.
Okay. Thank you, Lara. Good to see you.
Just 1 month after the assassination of Charlie Kirk, conservative podcaster Benny Johnson stood by Attorney General Pam Bondi and described in horrific detail a threatening letter that was sent to his home.
The individual who wrote me described why he wanted me dead. I was a white, cis, Christian Trump supporter.
I'm noticing he skipped one. I'm noticing he skipped one thing. He didn't say straight. Much to consider. Interesting. Maybe this guy knew what he was. Maybe this is a homophobic hate crime. It is, after all, Coming Out Day. National Coming Out Day, it seems. So who knows?
They described in great detail how I would be killed in an open field, just like...
This is so funny to me because, like, Benny Johnson gets one descriptive death threat and gets to go on Fox News and talk about it, and then the administration is going to take action or whatever. I mean, I don't even know what to say. Like, we probably ban 1,000 death threats in not even a private correspondence, but in a very public setting in this chat every day. That's awesome. It's pretty cool.
How much blood would come out of my head and neck when it was blown off. This individual described orphaning my 4 beautiful children and widowing my wife with great joy.
Attorney General Pam Bondi says she plans to bring that man to justice.
We have arrested the author of this letter, George Isbell.
Bro, if we were to, I'm going to keep it real. If we were to arrest all of my, if the administration was this proactive with all the death threats I receive, I feel like there wouldn't be a prison large enough to house these people. If I were to do a press conference every time I received a death threat, I wouldn't be able to do the broadcast. I would just only be doing press conferences. To be fair, though, we would be cleaning up the streets. A lot, I mean a lot of Nazis would be going to prison. So many of them.
Jr. was taken into custody this morning, and we are charging him federally.
Joining me now exclusively, Benny Johnson. Benny, I reached out to you as soon as I saw this. It is horrifying. I've read the complaint from DOJ. There's a picture of the letter in here. It is absolutely grotesque. And it says that your wife, Kate, a mother of 4, is the one who discovered this. What was it like when she discovered this letter?
Well, yeah, thank you, Kaylee, so much for having me on. It was awful, and I'm still trying to comprehend how anyone could celebrate Charlie Kirk dying, how anyone could celebrate parents being under terroristic threat like this. Charlie, of course, 2 beautiful children and his wife that are left without a father and a husband. How could anybody celebrate that? And it's something that has hit me over the last couple of days, Kaylee, and it's that these people, by and large, they don't understand the joy that is parenthood. The Democrat Party is actually the party of childless individuals in America. 20 points more for Democrats, for childless voters. The Republican Party is the party of parents. They're the party.
Gotta get married, wife and kids carries a lot of weight with these goons. I mean, yeah, he did do that. He did do that. Miyaga, make insane asylums great again. Benny's a patriotic American and father, husband, and brother in arms. This is all equally disgusting to witness from overseas, too. America's the world's jewel of liberty and no place for thugs and communists. Do you think he says that when he blows guys? I don't know. Is he the gay guy whose wife banned him from going camping? Yeah, he's the gay guy whose wife banned him from going on business trips without her present. I feel like Benny's going to use this as an opportunity to be like, listen, I don't want to threaten your security. You're the mother of my children. I should probably travel alone again. I should probably be allowed to travel alone again, right? Right? Come on, business trips are back on the table.
Of joyful enjoyment of the family structure. I know you know this, and the data shows this as well, Kaylee. It's something that I think is really profound when it comes to the threatening nature of these letters against families and against the families here in America, that you have to understand that there is a major cultural difference between the two parties. And that is that the Republican Party is the party of parents. All available data shows that. In fact, 55% of all fathers are Republicans in this country. And a recent poll, Kaylee, showed that of the #1 priorities.
I don't understand what this has to do with anything. To me, it's like saying, 58% of Republicans like the color red. Like, okay. Like, what the does this have to do with anything? It's not even like a super significant percentage. Okay, 55% of fathers are Republican. So what? So you have a 5% advantage on that front? Like, what does that mean? What does that mean at all? 100% of people have had 2 biological parents. I just don't understand this. The most thing that Kirk got is just hate. He just has a lot of enemies. Anyone who's different from a conservative Republican white dude.
For young men under the age of 30 that are Republicans, fatherhood is the #1 priority. And so when you're looking at the difference in how people...
Oh, he's trying to present the narrative that it's like the left is anti-family. That's why they want to kill me, because I am a representation of the things that they hate, which is being in a committed relationship. Cool.
Could tolerate this. I think there's your boundary lines. Republicans are the party of the family.
Well, this individual, there's no doubt about that. And that is the #1 goal of Gen Z men. I remember covering that. When you read this letter, though, this individual, he talks about your followers. And let me read to you a quote he says about your millions and millions of followers. You all need to be exterminated. So this was toward you and toward every single person who ascribes to the movement that animates what makes you you.
Yes, and I don't understand where this hatred could truly come from, and it's hard to really reconcile it, especially when you come from a party of peace.
Bro, that's so funny. Like, as someone who is on the receiving end of millions of death threats, okay, I know where the hate comes from. I'm sure he does too, okay? Yeah, it's because you say shit like, "Oh, Republicans are the party of peace." That's probably why you do get a metric ton of hatred. Did they just discover what hate comments are? I know. Like, do I think it's good that people play fast and loose with like credible death threats? No, I don't. As the recipient of like I said, millions throughout my career for the past 12 years or so, I would say it would probably be better if I didn't receive it. But at this point, it's just like background noise, you know? It's just background noise. There's not really anything you can do about it unless you're Benny Johnson, in which case the attorney general will go and find the person who did this and will prosecute them. But I will tell you, I know exactly where it comes from. You know, I know exactly where it comes from. I don't agree with the sentiment, and I don't agree with, you know, the false characterizations. But I still know exactly what the motivations are behind such a thing like that. It's a person who is deeply, deeply sad, deeply angry, deeply resentful, and finds a sense of community and finds a sense of purpose in their lives by slotting themselves into a specific type of ideology. In my case, the people that are sending me those death threats oftentimes are coming from a multitude of different types of ideology, whether extreme centrists, extreme nihilists, or of course, a bunch of different reactionary principles, reactionary points of view, whether it be, you know, the pro-Israel crowd, neo-Nazis of different sorts. It is what it is. Red pillars since Andrew Tate, Sam Hyde fans, lolly neo-Nazis. Centrist death threats is so funny, I'm sorry. Yeah. Centrist pro-NATO liberals have straight up sent me death threats. Isn't that funny? Like Ryan Ruth style.
Want peaceful debate. But this is a party that is spiraling, and I think they've lost the debate, Kaylee. And because they've lost the debate, they are going to resort to violence. And it's awful to see. It's something that I don't want for my country. It's something that I want to see resolved. And the only way to resolve it are for Democrats to say enough. How many more of us need to die, Kaylee? How many more times do we need to see our president shot in the head? How many more times do we need to see...
That's such a funny statement. How many more times do we need to see the president, our president, shot in the head? Like, bro, how many times do you think it happened? Like, what? That's so funny. Guys, he's getting shot in the head every weekend. It's really up.
Charlie Kirk's. How many more times do we need to see ICE facilities shot at? How many more Christian children's praying in churches do we need to see slaughtered? The Democrat Party and the leadership of the Democrat Party need to say enough is enough. We're going to reconcile with the extremist left wing of our party. We're going to acknowledge that we have a problem, and we're going to do something about it. But instead, Kaylee, they are nominating somebody for the Attorney General of Virginia that is calling for exactly what happened to my family yesterday. A man was charged for threatening my family to kill me and to kill my children. Well, John Jay.
Wait, what?
Sorry, Jay Jones, who's running for Attorney General in Virginia, he's on record doing the exact same thing, calling for...
Whoa, that's crazy. Guy running for Attorney General in Virginia is like, I'm running for Attorney General in Virginia so we can kill Benny Johnson. That's a crazy platform, dude. That's pretty wild. I wonder what he's talking about.
Or the killing of Republicans and the killing of Republican children, calling them little fascists. Will any
The J. Jones stuff is really crazy, lol. This is what they're mad at. Let's see. The private messages offer a disturbing glimpse into how Jones, who was looking to oust incumbent Republican Attorney General Jason Miyares this fall describes his political adversaries in private conversations. Dem Attorney General nominee Jay Jones fantasized about shooting former Virginia GOP speaker. He receives both bullets. What? Hence the glowing tributes from the R's. Damn, that was for Mark. Sorry, Charlie. No worries. Talking about Joe Johnson, a D, but basically a R. Leaked everything to your caucus. It's why Gilbert gave him such a glowing tribute. I knew what you were talking about. Served with my dad, who had nice words with a little choice sprinkled in. I didn't look at that. I just saw a guy died and assumed you'd have words. He was a D. They say nice things about everyone, lol. If those guys die before me, I will go to their funerals and piss on their graves. Send them out awash in something. Jay Jones, 3 people, 2 bullets. Gilbert, Hitler, and Pol Pot. Gilbert gets 2 bullets to the head. Oh my God. What? Oh my God. That's a dive. I can't believe that. Spoiler, put Gilbert in the crew with the 2 worst people you know, and he receives both bullets every time. Jay, please stop. Lol. Okay. It really bothers me when you talk about hurting people or wishing death on them. You weren't simply asking questions that you know it. I genuinely was. I wasn't attacking you. I was trying to understand your logic. You weren't trying to understand. You were talking about hoping Jennifer Gilbert's children would die. Yes, I've told you this before. Only when people feel pain personally do they move on policy. There isn't. I point blank asked you more than 3 times, and you dug in that you meant it. I honestly am questioning a lot today. I mean, do I think Todd and Jennifer are evil and that they're breeding little fascists? Yes. Bro, this guy is crazy. He was talking about Gilbert opposing gun control in the aftermath of a school shooting. God damn, dude. That is crazy. Now, obviously, this is a wild person. That's what I'll say. Okay? I don't know how he got this hard. Of course, I condemn this rhetoric, obviously, as I have over and over again. It is pretty wild that in spite of this rhetoric, though, he is like doing fairly well, I think, in the Attorney General's race, right? Isn't he? Isn't there a... Wait, oh no, this is a different guy, right? This is the Dem AG nominee. Let me see. Text from Democratic AG candidate Royal Virginia governor's race. Jay Jones text scandal sparks donation surge as GOP group pours millions. I mean, this just came out. Virginia Democrats defend Spanberger's handling of Jones text scandal. Virginia Democrats are defending gubernatorial nominee Abigail Spanberger's handling of a text scandal that has rocked the Commonwealth less than a month out from the elections. Over the weekend, the governor's race roiled by news that Democratic Attorney General nominee Jay Jones has sent text messages expressing violence towards former Virginia House Speaker Todd Gilbert back in 2022. Republicans have since used Jones's comments in which he suggested shooting Gilbert to attack Spanberger amid a national reckoning over the rise of political violence. Spanberger has repeatedly condemned the text, but she notably refrained from calling on him to drop out during a Thursday night debate against GOP nominee Winsome Earl Sears. Many Democrats see it as the right approach, even as Republicans step up their attacks over the controversy.
Understand why you just can't come forward and say he needs to go. I mean, we're talking about murder.
I don't like Abigail Spanberger, obviously, as you guys know, for obvious reasons. I will, however, say that she is cuckoo beans, okay? If I'm thinking about the right person. Jay Jones said cops should die and fantasize about murdering a dad and his kids, and Abigail Spanberger still hasn't called on him to drop out. That tells us one thing. She's okay with what he said.
We're talking about someone's life being taken from them. Have you nothing to say about that? Are you not going to address it? Really, you can't go any further. You're a governor. You're supposed to stand up for all the people. Are you saying political murder is all right?
It's so wild to me that Republicans get to just sit here and act like this is completely out of place in the modern political equation. Like they're trying to play the role of like civility politics here, which I find to be very strange, considering that they literally, I've seen their campaign ads. I've seen their campaign ads where they do mock executions, for example. I've seen their campaign ads where they shoot like a 50 cal rifle. Like almost all of them engage in some shape or form of direct incitement to do political violence. And it's not like they have stopped. That's what's so crazy about this, right? Because they haven't exactly stopped. They haven't exactly tried to, really stamp out the violent rhetoric on their own side. Like the president will just straight up go on national television every day and be like, we need to brutalize the Antifa thugs. They're monsters. We have to kill them. We have to shoot them. I'm deploying the military. I'm deploying the military. They're going to go full force. That's what he said. Full force. Whatever that means, right? It's like, are we being for real right now? Like, I'm hearing what you're saying. My understanding is that Jones was leading before today. Now a bunch of Republican sites are claiming his opponent is surging, but are using Republican polls. We'll see what happens. I think it's an interesting situation. Obviously, it's something I suspect Jones has already apologized for, right? Or is it a new text message? Nope. Virginia poll for Attorney General. Jay Jones, 46%. Is this dark woke? I don't know. I don't know what this is. 46% can still vote for this guy? Brutal. To be fair, the threat he made is a bit from the office. I mean, yeah, obviously he doesn't mean it literally, chatters. Yeah, and it's also private correspondence. It's not like, it doesn't actually mean anything sincerely. Once again, we're kind of getting manipulated by the outrage farming a little bit. I do understand, though, tensions are high right now, so it does make sense that people would take extra precautions in a situation like this. But he's being hyperbolic in a private conversation, okay? That's why there's a meme about, the boys when the group chat gets leaked, we're all going to prison, that type of shit. Virginia AG Dem nominee Jay Jones issues a more full-throated apology after text revealed he wished to see former Virginia House Speaker Todd Gilbert killed. He says he reached out to Todd Gilbert to apologize directly to him and his family. I take full responsibility for my actions, and I want to issue my deepest apology to Speaker Gilbert and his family. Reading back those words made me sick to my stomach. I'm embarrassed, ashamed, and sorry. I've reached out to Speaker Gilbert to apologize directly to him, his wife Jennifer, and their children. I cannot take back what I said. I can only take full accountability and offer my sincere apology. Virginians deserve honest leaders who admit when they are wrong and own up to their mistakes. This was a grave mistake, and I will work every day to prove to the people of Virginia that I will fight for them as Attorney General. No, that's not a L. Guys, come on. Come on. Be for real. No, this is like Republicans would never apologize, I think, in this situation, and they would just double down and then point the immediate blame back at the Democrats. But come on, he's staying in the race. I think the only thing I would tweak in this situation is gun violence is an atrocity that actually is quite impactful on Virginian communities. And obviously, in my weakest moment, I was overcome with emotions thinking about the numerous victims of gun violence and the inability of the Republican Party to address said violence with competent legislation. And this output and this anger, while the anger itself is just, the way I communicated is completely inappropriate for a person that is, completely inappropriate for a person that's running for office in any capacity. That's it. I do also want to remind people that, yes, the Republicans ran a man who called himself Black Hitler. The Republicans ran a man who was such a serial, prolific that he was barred from going to the local mall by the local police department. Republicans ran a person by the name of Randy Fine as well. That's it. That's all I need to say. Randy Fine. So when we talk about up text messages, private correspondence, and heated moments or whatever, spoiling, I think the Dems need they need to have more backbone, okay? They do. They need to have more backbone in this process. I don't think the voters will punish their elected representatives, especially at a time like this when the Republicans have straight up completely destroyed whatever standard of normalcy that previously might have existed, whatever standard of civility that previously might have existed. Do I think in this day and age, anyone that has a D next to their name, anyone that goes and reliably votes for the Democratic Party is going to look at those text messages and go, yeah, I'm not voting for this guy. I can't do that. No, they feel the same level of anger. Is it just? No. Should you say things like that? No. Okay, you need to be more careful. But the reality of the matter is, a lot of people are angry. And also, if one side is presenting civility as this thing that we must uphold and the other side has no use for it whatsoever, then you're always going to lose. VA is a super centrist state that has so many ties to the military. I know. Northern Virginia is a stronghold for defense industry contracts. Norfolk. Anyway, you first should be the Dem motto. Let the Republicans condemn first because they never do. Yeah. Maybe I'm too crazy for saying this, but like, we have a drunk as the Secretary of Defense, now the Secretary of War. We got an Epstein affiliate that's like stopping the release of the Epstein files as the president, who himself has been credibly accused of sexual assault or found to be at least guilty of sexual assault in a civil court proceeding where the standards are lower than a criminal trial, who allegedly his wife. Like, what are we talking about? What the are we talking about? Oh, I can't believe this guy said some crazy shit in a private text message to another person in a weak moment. Like, wow. Republicans have set the standard. And then they turn around and go, I can't believe it. Found liable, not guilty. True. Did I say guilty? I meant liable. That's why apologizing is an L. No, I don't. I think like if you are understandably embarrassed by what you said in that moment, then it's appropriate for you to say it. But that's why I also mentioned that he could have elaborated further and been like, these are the reasons why I had a weak and emotional moment. And it's not reflective of who I am. And it's not reflective of a sincerely held like policy position. You know, come on, dude. He literally said, you know, the dude and his children deserve bullets. Like, that's pretty crazy. I think no one cares about civility politics, but it's good for everyone to rationalize it. If you do an apology, it doesn't change anything. Who are we kidding? Trump is president. No one cares about this shit. I'm just saying, if you feel the need to do right by your constituents, if you feel the need to say something, because the no comment in that situation is going to only elevate it even further. Because like Republicans are going to use this. From this day on all the way until the election, right? They're going to use this. They're going to farm it over and over again. It's good to at least have an apology that you can point to so that people go, all right, dude, you're like, it's a private text message that leaked. Like, shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? He apologized for it. Calm the fuck down. Like, it does neutralize the argument a little bit. Do you see what I mean? And that neutralization of the argument matters for the supporters. Even in his apology, I think it's important to like explain exactly what took place, like explain exactly what his mentality was. But yeah, Republican polls are saying that Jones is dropped and Mayaris has a +6 lead here. Spanberger's still cleaning on the governor's race. And this is a Trafalgar poll. So all I'm saying is have a little bit more confidence in your base. Democrats, you are not very good at reading the room. You can rely on your base, especially with not what he said specifically, but like having a more radical approach to the things that you talk about. I do not think that people will punish you for stuff like this, especially because they are so desperate. They're so desperate for any kind of Democrat to put up a fight. Also, we're doing straight up defamation to try to get the Trump admin to actually target journalists now, huh? Andy, no. New York City Antifa member Talia Jane Ben Ora was at January 6th in a MAGA costume. She was never charged with any crimes that day. Imagine being so stupid. You get told by these nut jobs that you got tricked by Antifa into rioting, and you're just like, sure, yeah, that makes way more sense and sounds much more in line with my character than what I used to say, which is that we were fighting for justice. I didn't want to overthrow the election based on things that made me genuinely believe I had to take action to help defend democracy. Some chick in a Trump beanie told me to punch a cop, and I just did it. This has to be the dumbest pretext for targeting political enemies. Antifa member is not a thing, and Andy knows this because posting about Antifa has been his whole grift for almost a decade. He's literally just trying to get me hurt because I have consistently reported through the propaganda and bullshit peddled by these psychotic uggos. Kirsty Noem saying Antifa is the same as ISIS.
We arrested recently in Portland was the girlfriend of one of the founders of Antifa. And
that was such a funny. We arrested recently in Portland. One of the girlfriends of the founder of Antifa is such a bar, dude. I wish this wasn't also an incredible threat to free speech. It sucks because like you have to take this seriously because it's a serious threat, but it's being done in the dumbest ways possible. It's awesome. I love it.
That we are hoping that as we go after her, interview her, and prosecute her, we will get more and more information about the network and how we can root them out and eliminate them from the existence of American society. I want to thank the new journalists here today for telling their stories and for being able and willing to go to the streets and to cover what's happening.
Who is the girlfriend of the founder of Antifa? Because like Antifa, anti-fascism has been around for as long as fascism has been around. So like, she got to be like 100 plus years, and European too, probably. I mean, I guess we had American anti-fascists as well, but like that's a old ass lady, man. I guess they couldn't arrest the founder because the founder probably died by this point. But like, I assume she's actually talking about like Portland, the Portland Rose City Antifa or something, right? Anyway, happy birthday to the girlfriend of the founder of Antifa, who today celebrates 111 years of fighting fascism. Bro, I heard they arrested your girl. Yeah, I'm the founder of Antifa.
Here in America. Many times the legacy media has looked the other way, refused to tell the stories. The networks have not really focused on what this is and what damage it is doing to our country, and how this network of Antifa is just as sophisticated as MS-13, as TDA, as ISIS, as Hezbollah,
as ISIS. Antifa, a terror organization as sophisticated, with a network of influence as sophisticated as Hezbollah, ISIS, Trendaragua. Also, some of these things are not as militant or even exist. Like, I would put Trendaragua and Antifa in the same category as just like made up problems by the administration. One is designed to basically arrest and apprehend whoever the they think is a Democrat and annoying them. The other is a way to storm entire building complexes to arrest and apprehend and detain, deport every Venezuelan person or someone who just looks kind of Venezuelan, I guess. And then you have like, you know, CIA-backed terror networks like ISIS, CIA and Israel-backed terror networks like ISIS that are weaponized as a destabilizing force in a region far, far away from the United States of America. Okay. And then Hezbollah, which again, I don't know what kind of motion Hezbollah has ever had in the United States of America.
Hamas is all of them. They are just
or Hamas. Oh God, it's so
dangerous.
funny.
They have an agenda to destroy us, just like the other terrorists we've dealt with for many, many years. And today is the day that we have a president that won't tolerate it and will stand up and fight for the American people. So thank you for being here.
Also, yeah, one of the girlfriends implies the founder of Antifa isn't a polycule. Okay, that tracks though. That does track. That makes sense. That actually is the most sensible thing that she presented.
Being so bold and for standing in the gap at such a time as this. It will matter. It will make a difference, and your life will be one of significance because of what you've done today. So with that, God bless you, and thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much.
What are you talking about? Hezbollah was recently caught putting down fiber in West Hollywood. I wish, dude. Jesus Christ. Oh, my Lord. I wish.